Jason Pellegrini's dad says Mick Jagger is gay. Yeah, well, Jason Pellegrini's dad takes it up the ass. I'm Liam, he's Rob, and this week on the Hey Guys podcast, we look back at Tony Scott's critical and commercial flop, 1996's sports movie thriller, The Fan. A slow burn character study until it totally goes off the deep end in the final act. This cult classic might occasionally struggle with its desired tone, but thanks to Scott's typically stylish direction and two wonderful lead performances from De Niro and Snipes, I'd argue that this movie is absolutely worth revisiting, especially now that it's showing on Netflix. Saying that, though, I've always had a soft spot for this movie and am willing to admit that nostalgia and a love for baseball and San Francisco movies, for that matter, might be clouding my judgments. Now, Rob, do you have the same attachment that I do to The Fan?
I do not, no. I've seen it once before, totally forgot a lot of this film. Do not have that nostalgia. I like baseball films. I like sports movies, same as you. San Francisco is a lovely place to set a film. Absolutely.
Yep. We've done a bunch recently.
The leads, I would say one is definitely better than the other, and maybe one needed to do a bit more, but we'll get into that going forward.
Okay.
But what I did come out of this film thinking is this is definitely Tony Scott's most uncomfortable film. Right.
Oh, super uncomfortable watch.
I mean, usually he's making stylish, high-energy action films, but The Fan, to me, it's claustrophobic, grimy, and deeply psychological. The constant rain, the neon lighting, and jittery camera work make the whole film, to me, feel like it's sweating. De Niro...
Well, he does specialize in sweaty movies, in fact.
It's sweaty movies and rain movies, let's be fair. De Niro's Gil as well. He's a man who's both pathetic and terrifying. He's got someone whose obsession fills the void where his life used to be. And Snipes, he is that perfect counterbalance. A superstar athlete suddenly trapped in the orbit of someone who thinks they own him. Every time Gil spoke on camera, I squirmed in my seat. I don't know what it was about the lines or the delivery, but De Niro did so well with this in such an uncomfortable character study.
Yeah, I mean, nobody does pent-up rage and barely controlled madness quite like De Niro.
I mean, I was expecting that you talking to me, but well,
yeah. But I mean, the thing is, this is an exceptional performance, I think, from De Niro, and like you say, really uncomfortable watch. It might be like fifth on his list. This is a guy who did Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, Jake LaMotta, Raging Bull, Max Candy in Cape Fear, and you could even say, like, even though limited screen time, Capone in The Untouchables, which obviously we've covered on this podcast too. Yeah. For some reason, this one always sticks with me. And maybe it's because with, say, Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, it had already been kind of, sent up like a million times. By the time I watched Taxi Driver, I was already aware of the character and that you talking to me. And it always become like a bit of a joke. Raging Bull feels what it is incredibly stylized. Don't get me wrong, this film is very stylized. Jake LaMotta and what Scorsese did with Raging Bull is a next level up. This feels, despite Tony Scott's best efforts in terms of his incredibly 90s lighting, does feel a little bit closer to home until, as the aforementioned, final act, when it becomes, because this film is like at odds with itself like throughout. It's like, is this going to be a slow burn character study? Yes, it is. Also, is it going to ostensibly be an action movie? Like, this movie goes full sudden death. Like the last sequence.
It really does. And I'm glad it's not a straight up action movie, because I think if it was a straight up action movie, having De Niro as the foil to Wesley Snipes wouldn't work. I mean, if Wesley Snipes ends up being the guy who's running through hoops to try and save his son, and you've got De Niro, you need De Niro to be more like Hopper in Speed, where he's not always on screen, or he's not always like fighting against. He's the one delivering the tasks. But in regards to to what we've got on screen, I think it's done really well. And again, I'll go back to this quite a lot. You feel that he is on the edge, De Niro. Anybody he talks to, even his son at some point, I'm thinking he's going to get a broken arm or something.
I actually think his son is really good in this. And to back to your point there, in terms of like, the tonal inconsistency, should we say, or even you might even call it the tonal whiplash in terms of the end of the movie. I think it speaks to the fact that this movie really is two movies in one. You mentioned the fact you wouldn't want this to be an action movie. If this was an action movie, the whole film would fundamentally be based on Bobby's point of view. This would be a Wesley Snipes movie
Yeah.
with a lesser actor playing the Gil role, and you could almost turn it into an action movie. If you were doing like a proper psychological thriller, like all the way through, you would just do it purely from Gil's perspective and Robert De Niro's character. The fact that this movie tries to do both means that it's both probably 15 minutes too long as a movie and tonally a bit inconsistent, because some people may make the argument that you get the best of both worlds. I would say what you end up with are two uneven movies running at the same time, which ultimately are entertaining in their own right, but it does lead to a kind of a movie which doesn't know which way it wants to turn at any given moment.
I argue anyway that Tony Scott 5 years before this gave us the action movie version of this film in The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah, it's a great
You've got the sport, the rain. All right, Bruce Willis is a fan. He is a fan of Jimmy Dixon, but not obsessive. So you get that action movie. If that's what you want, then you got The Last Boy Scout, and we've already covered that in this podcast. To me, The Last Boy Scout is fucking near perfect. I absolutely adore that film.
I don't love it as much as you. Like, do you think it's a more consistent movie than this? For that reason, exactly.
But you get the other side of it, and the other, even to this day, especially like looking at the World Cup now. Yes, before you say it, I've never watched a World Cup game this season. I haven't watched. Sorry, I'll start again. I haven't watched a World Cup game, a World Cup 2026 game. I won't start now, but I have seen the obsession, like the fans' obsession.
Of course.
So fan obsessiveness is always going to happen, isn't it? You're going to get
that's not that could be any sport, like you say, football, baseball. You're interested in whatever.
But what you can even do it comedically. What's that film we've talked about a few times now with Dan Aykroyd where they kidnap? Is it
Boston Pride?
Boston Pride. That's fan obsessiveness, and they've gone and kidnapped him, and it's all shits and giggles and it's laughs.
Yeah, Boston Pride's a perfect example. Like, if you just turn the dial slightly to the right on Boston Pride, it becomes a really disturbing movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally
They've kidnapped him.
You know what we were saying just then in terms of like, you either make the Bobby movie or you make the Gil movie. Boston Pride is the Gil movie. It's totally the Gil movie, only they're playing it for laughs rather than, this is going to get really, really disturbing. And like, even beyond disturbing, it comes back to the word you used earlier, is uncomfortable. Like, it gets disturbing for like the last 30 minutes when it really goes for it. But for like an hour and a half, you're just like, oh, man, this is a tough watch almost.
Why does when Gil introduce himself as well after he saves Bobby's kid? Why of all the names he comes up with does he Curly?
Like, he's a loser. That's the thing. Like you said, I think you said in your intro, one of the first things you said after I covered the intro was that he is both scary and pathetic, and that perfectly sums up Gil's character. And the fact that he gives him the name Curly, I'm just like, of course he does. Like, I'm not sure if there's another film where somebody is so simultaneous, like, this guy is so fucking lame. At the same time, I'm like, I would not want to cross this guy at all. I would not want to be on this guy's shit list.
I mean, if we're not going to show you how much of a psycho he is, he's driving around in his van with his bobbleheads. You get the every now and then view of his weird man cave. There's just weird scratch outs and
the old baseball stadium.
The old baseball stadium.
Yeah,
so
sky.
He just means, but he's also a knife salesman. But he's that much of a pathetic loser. He's a knife salesman in his own company that he seems to have been ousted of. Yeah. How the fuck does that happen?
They do a great job in this film of always doing just enough to explain that you're seeing him getting pushed over the edge. So, I always say, like, the difference between, say, this film, if you think, again, if we go into that whole conversation, either a Gil film or a Bobby film, this is a Gil film. The closest thing to it is Falling Down. The difference with Falling Down is that even though Michael Douglas's character is an absolute fucking psycho, it's more relatable. And they provide him with just a hint of sympathy. It's like the movie starts and he's a guy with anger issues, and they just turn up every doll. And, it's all those relatable things you've gone through, which could potentially push you over the edge. And basically, because he was already an angry person, it tips him over the edge. And it's an extreme example of, what we all go through in our brain. It's kind of like, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Again, that's the comedy version. It's like, we've all thought what Larry David thinks. The only difference is he responds to it, like, out loud. And you're just like, well, I think that, but I wouldn't say it. And it's just like, you've all been in the car. It's too hot. You're like, I want to fucking kill that person who didn't pull off at the lights, but you don't go out the car and do it. The difference with this is this guy is like a step above that. he's like a functioning psychopath, and he's always had just enough in his life to just about ground him, with whether it be his wife, his kids, his job, and obviously he's got a legacy job. That's why, despite the fact that he's a complete asshole, they do just enough to explain why he's still employed. But as soon as he loses those things, he was already fixed on the edge. He was waiting. And, it's not just a matter of he gets angry at the end of the film. He has like a complete break with reality at the end of this film, which kind of goes some way towards justifying the absolute absurdity of the last 30 minutes of this film.
I mean, the absolute absurdity of the whole film whenever he's talking about his baseball career. Now, I've seen this again, probably late 90s, and then 20, 30 years later, I watched it again. He's talking about his baseball career. Oh, I'm led to believe maybe, minors or college ball or something like that. He put his arm out. He can't do his best pitch anymore, but he's really like Bobby.
He used to play, didn't
he used to play, and he's got this. He's got these skills to offer people who will listen. He knows what he's talking about. Fucking Little League.
Mm-hmm.
Where the fuck did that come from?
Again, it's like, coming back to the point about this film ostensibly being about the dangers of nostalgia and obsession. It's like he's clearly rewritten his own history and in like basically encased it behind bulletproof glass. Like he's created this history for himself where he could have made it to the majors. Coop was this like, when you finally meet Coop at the end of the film, you're just like, he's like, oh, this is like, he was like the greatest athlete I ever worked with. It's like Coop clearly doesn't like him. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Was clearly scared of him as soon as Coop saw him.
Yeah.
So, and he said
everybody's scared. Everyone, like, this isn't like a new thing. Like I said, the difference with falling down, where you're just like, oh, he's got a bit of anger issues, but he's fallen off the edge. Clearly from a young age, everyone has been like, this guy is off his fucking nut.
Coop hasn't seen, well, from what I can gather, Coop hasn't seen him since Little League.
Yeah. So, exactly.
So, as soon as he saw Gil, he was like uncomfortable. So was Gil a bit of a psycho at 12 years of age as well? And he's thinking, oh, I don't want to go back to this guy. Or is it just the fact that the old Little League guy just came to my work and said, oh, I've been stalking you, basically. I've looked you up.
If I were to hazard a guess, I suspect they knew each other after Little League, and that as they grew up, he clearly kind of dissed himself from him because he was a psycho, and not in that kind of like, I don't want to hang around with you anymore. It's just like you slowly did. It's like when you grow up, you have like people from like high school. You kind of group together because you live near each other, and you slowly, without making a big fuss, you just naturally kind of drift away from them because you have different tastes, or they might be, in this case, a bit of a fucking psycho, and that's what I suspect. But yeah, like. You have that moment when he decides to kill, his friend Coop, and he's like, oh, we could have made it to me. Like that, at that point, he's lost his mind. He's on the edge throughout this film, but for the last sequence, he's basically just lost his mind.
I mean, I'd argue he'd lost his mind a long time ago, and we're just here just watching the downfall of it. But so we say a lot of things as well. We say growing up in the 90s, we would have done this, the 80s and the 90s. Like, we didn't have phones, obviously. We traveled miles and miles and miles where our parents thought we were just the next street over and we were like, halfway across the city. Even in the 80s or the 90s, I'm not too sure I, as a dad, or my mum and dad, would have left me at a packed stadium to go and have a business meeting.
Well, that was an interesting one because I was watching that sequence when he takes his son to the ball game. And as I said, I think the son is actually fantastic in this film. Like, he plays it so well in terms of that. He wants to please his dad. He clearly kind of still loves his dad, but is obviously scared of him. And always, not only does he want to please him, you see on his face, he's worried about setting him off. And I think he plays that off like pretty well throughout the film. When he's at the baseball game and, Bobby Neo was giving it the big one, first and foremost, I was like, the busybody old lady, I actually think she's a busybody.
Oh, yeah. Pay attention to the fucking baseball game, love. Stop worrying about what's going on here.
Yeah, I know he's being a bit of a dick, but he's at the baseball. He's with his son. It's like, go for it. And then she just takes the son. I'm a bit suspect of him. So because of the busybody, I was almost siding with Gil at that point. I was like, oh, she's taking it too far. It's okay. You can leave your kid at the seat for a minute. And then, of course, he gets in the van and leaves the ballpark completely. I'm like, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't just leave the game. You can go and take a phone call.
Yeah.
You can't just fucking leave the motherfucker and go have a business meeting.
There's no way in hell he parked right next to the gates either. To get to his car, which I'm going to assume is at least 2 miles away at this point. get to where he needs to be, fuck up the meeting, and then come back.
I don't know where it is, because I've
just
been.
before that
The
as
thing is,
well.
I've been to Oracle Park, where the Giants play baseball now, and it is actually right in the city centre. But this was a Candlestick Park, the original, the stadium before Oracle was built. And I get the impression it's a bit further out. But either way, like you say, you've got to get your car, you've got to drive out, you've got to have a business meeting. He's going to be gone. If we best case scenario, like an hour and 15. Like also, that's most of it. That's like over half a baseball game.
I might be confusing the two games, but wasn't it also like bottom of the 8th or whatever it was? So there was only one inning left, and he's left this kid in a meeting in the ballpark.
Yeah, well, he should. He hasn't thought this through. But I guess they kind of play up the idea that he knows he should leave earlier, but he keeps like going to leave, then sitting back down because he wants to watch Bobby come up to bat. It just plays with this idea that he is both a loser and a psycho.
So you're right about the busybody. She should pay attention. But even I would question when this grown-ass man had to have a moral dilemma in his head about stealing a ball off a 12-year-old boy, another 12-year-old boy. When that kid caught the baseball and he was like, oh, the wind got it or somebody got in my way or something, I thought he was going to fucking snap. I honestly thought he was going to pull the ball out of it and do a Karen.
I've seen, Karen. I've seen like so many videos of these psychos at ballparks where they've literally stolen balls out of people's hands and stuff. Yeah. It's like, it's fucking. I mean, I think
there was that famous woman a couple of months ago, wasn't there?
Oh yeah.
And she literally made the parents give the ball back, but then the stadium did the right thing and gave the kid loads.
It was absolute nonsense. I actually listen. I'm not going to rag on the guy because it was heroic what he did. I may have mentioned before when I went to see the who was it? I went to see the Cubs at Wrigley. And I said to my wife, she's like, could the baseball come back here? Because we were behind home plate. I was like, nah, there's no fucking way the ball's going to come back here. They'd have to totally spoon it. It would have to go into foul territory. Second inning, fucking pops one up. It's coming right for us. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to catch this motherfucking ball. It falls just behind me. It hits the wall. I'm like, it's going to roll into my hand. I'm just waiting for it to roll into my hand. This dude with 12 beers, at least that's what I imagine in my head. He had a lot of beers. He just dropped on the floor onto the ball right when it was like an inch in my hand. Popped back up, didn't drop it. Didn't spill, a drop of beer. And I couldn't even be angry. I was just impressed. But that was like a kind of like a heroic version of this. The other version is I grab it with my hand and some savage comes past, tears out of my hand.
I'm guessing though
that you see it. It does happen.
That's the nature of, I don't want to say British politeness, but that's the nature as well of a fan who's there. Like you're a fan from Britain. You've gone there to watch a game because you've always wanted to watch a game, blah, blah, blah. And not blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to diminish what you say. And then people that go to the game, I'm guessing 12 beers deep guy goes there a lot. They want to catch the ball. So they know to run for it and get it. But you were thinking, well, people can see I'm clearly holding my hand out.
I had no choice. Honestly, if I could have scuttled my way to the ball, like there's something about it. When you see that baseball, you're just like, I have to get to it. And that's fair game. Like if the ball hits the floor, like even if you catch it and you spill it, that doesn't mean it's your ball. Like if it hits the deck, it is anyone's ball until they have hold of it. The difference is as soon as it is in someone's, if I had, like I said, had it in my hand, it'd be mine. And if I could have scuttled to it, but because there was a barrier in the way and all I could do is reach my arm through, I just had to wait. All I could do was just stand there and wait for it to roll into my hands. But this guy showed up. But which is like I said, totally fair game.
I mean,
but some people are just psychos. But it's just one of a million things in this movie. Like where is even just like the little things like the way he plays his music too loud in his car, all that stuff. You're just like he's such a dick.
Too loud. Like fucking, I thought, Jesus Christ, mate, you can't get it any louder than what. Like he had to have it to max 99 plus or whatever it was. That was ridiculous.
He's such a dick.
And the music that he's obsessed with as well.
The Rolling Stones.
Well, the Rolling Stones, I think, is fine. But then he's like, "Oh, these are my best friends, mate." Honestly,
yeah, the way he sells it.
You are slipping.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out when he says it. It's like, oh, when Mick Jagger, released this, we all had a party, and the way he says it, he could be saying, oh, me and my friends, we all had a party because the song was released. But it also makes it sound like he's saying, I was friends with Mick Jagger. And I feel like he's like purposely leaving it open to interpretation. It's just, again, walking that kind of like that mental tightrope he's playing between the reality of his youth and what actually happened kind of thing. And that, like you said, though, I mean, you get this for basically an hour, this slow build-up. And you think, oh, this could be like a relatively, it is a slow burn character study. But what you're also getting is Tony Scott shooting the shit out of this film. It's like, oh, this is just like a sports movie. It's a psychological thriller. Don't need to go too far with the camera work. Tony Scott's like, fuck you. And the 90s also said, fuck you and your natural lighting. Like right from the off, you get that like I can only describe it as a 90s filter on this film, like that orange tinge. This almost looks, and it's not just because it's set in San Francisco. This looks like it could be a kind of unofficial same universe film as like The Rock, for instance. It just looks the same. And when you have, like,
what's funny, he turned down The Rock to direct this film. Sorry, you mentioned The Rock. I just had to say this. He turned down The Rock to direct this film. And I always wonder, The Rock is a fantastic film. I absolutely agree. It's one of my favorites. But I would like to see what a Tony Scott directed Rock would look like.
I actually think if ever you're talking about two directors where you would just be kind of like, it'd be a lateral move, would be The Rock directed by Tony Scott. I feel like it would look really fucking similar to how The Rock looks.
I mean, there'd be more rain.
There would be more rain, I'll give you that. And, San Francisco is one of those cities. You get the sunshine, you get the fog, you get the rain, you get the full quota. But he does love the rain. And we will get to that final sequence and the fact that a rain delay, I mean, they would have called that game, but it is what it is. But one of the scenes I love, which really shows you this is a Tony Scott film, it opens with, not only is this like, we mentioned when we covered Sneakers, you get like little hints of it being a San Francisco film. This is a proper San Francisco film. You get the team, you get the white shots. What's that?
Double San Francisco films. Do we plan that?
I think it was just pure accident. Or maybe it was just because we were doing San Francisco and I saw this, it set me off. We're doing like an unofficial San Francisco season. Pardon me. But when he's doing the phone-in, it's like he keeps doing this cross-cutting. That could just be like a whatever scene. Yeah. It's shot amazingly. So you're getting like the intro to the city, you're getting the character bits where you're getting Gil talking to the, I forget the name of the lady radio host. That whole sequence is amazing. I can't figure out, like, and I know we still have those like fan culture, like phone-ins and stuff, like sports talk radio. And let's be clear, they're full of psychos. Do they ever phone like athletes to join the calls? I don't think.
Yeah, just out of the blue, just phoning an athlete. She was Jewel, by the way. That was Jewel Stern.
Jewel, that's it.
What's funny as well is because you said it was like you said, you get his phone call. He's crossing the bridge. All looks great. Then you get to the radio station side of it, and it's all smoky and dark, dimly lit, and it's so good. Fucking Jack Black, just out of the blue, is like in the background just going
tiny performance. Yeah. But yeah, San Francisco, sorry, just to be clear, that does legit happen. Like you go to San Francisco and you think, oh, it's a sunny day. You turn your back for a second and it's like there's just fog everywhere. Like what the fuck happened? Yeah. But yeah, like back to the phone-in thing. It's just like I guess I don't think it's a coincidence that he's named Bobby and that this is like basically a close approximation or a send-up of Barry Bonds, the famous San Francisco baseball player. I just can't see a world, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe American listeners could correct me here. I can't see a world where Barry Bonds joined a fucking phone-in with a fan to kind of argue his case. I'm just like, I just don't think that would have happened. But maybe it did. You get.
But then again, it felt like that could have been a John Leguizamo thing. We need to get your name out there. People are questioning why you're paying people are paying you $40 million. Maybe you can explain it. And I don't know. It seemed to be the right thing as well because again, Gil was blowing Bobby at this point. I want to go back a little bit to what you said about Tony Scott because we all know Tony Scott's a fantastic director. One of your favorite films, Top Gun. I love the way. We've done loads. But what I want to say is, I love the way it's shot. Top Gun. It's not my favorite film, but I am beginning to realize after watching this now as well, Tony Scott might have been one of my favorite directors. Like he gave us. You were about to say the list as well, but he gave us, like, for me personally, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Last Boy Scout.
How have we not done Beverly Hills Cop 2, dude? Jesus
I know.
Christ.
True Romance, again, one of my absolute favorites. Is probably in my top 5, True Romance. Crimson Tide, first time I watched it, big fan. Then you had, obviously...
Again, another film we should be on our list, to be honest. Crimson Tide.
Oh, I thought we did Crimson Tide. No, we did Hunt for Red October. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Enemy of the State, good back then. Maybe not so much now.
I could leave that one in the past.
Yeah. Man on Fire, big fan of. Deja Vu, real big fan of that one. And
you're the one, right?
I am the one, the one person like Deja Vu.
It's okay.
And I just realized he was super obsessed with Denzel Washington just before he passed, wasn't he? Man on Fire, Deja Vu, Pelham 1, 2, 3, and Unstoppable.
I like Pelham 1, 2, 3. I've never seen the original, so I don't have that kind of like.
Did you know there's three? There's 3 Pelhams.
What do you mean?
There's 3 taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3s.
Are there really?
Yeah, there's the original. There was a made-for-TV movie, which I think starred Donnie Wahlberg.
Oh, God, I didn't know about that one, no.
And then there's this one.
No, like I said, I like and obviously any film with Denzel's, generally speaking, a better movie we'll have in a minute. Man on Fire is like, if you can almost say like Tony Scott, just kind of like taken to his ultimate kind of form, you'd be like Man on Fire. It's got all, it couldn't be any more Tony Scott with like the, you know, all those cuts, the color palette, the sweatiness, all that jazz. But like you say, it's like we've already covered Top Gun, Days of Thunder, Last Boy Scout, and True Romance. And it's almost amazing we've not covered Beverly Hills Cop 2, a movie we've both said we genuinely love.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this comes up every like 10, 15 episodes, and we both go, how the fuck haven't we done Beverly Hills Cop 2? We both go, I don't know. And then we forget about it again.
Do you know what's funny as well? I mentioned the made-for-TV one of Pelham 123, and I said, oh yeah, Donnie Wahlberg. Forgetting like Edward James Olmos and Vincent D'Onofrio are the two main stars of that fucking film, and I've gone straight to Donnie Wahlberg. Also, I think why we haven't done Beverly Hills Cop 2 is the same why we haven't done Lethal Weapon 2 or anything like that yet. Is because we mention it, and because we've mentioned it, we say we'll add it to the list mentally, but we don't want it to be our next pick because we've already said it.
Yeah, so, maybe we keep pushing it back. But it's a weird one. We'll get around to it eventually. But I mean, come back to this one. It's a weird one because I think one of the reasons it works as well is that we're getting two actors like really not at their peak. I would never say this is De Niro's peak, but after like a bit of a rough like spell, like you know, on and off spell in the 80s, like De Niro's back in a big way in the 90s, and it's easy to forget now. But Snipes was a massive star in the 90s.
Oh, he was a massive star.
In the 90s, he did New Jack City, Mo Better Blues. This isn't all of his films, but the ones that stood out to me. Mo Better Blues, White Men Can't Jump, Passenger 57, Rising Sun, Demolition Man, U.S. Marshals, Murder at 1600, and Blade. Those were all in the 90s. And De Niro, you know, we often think of him as like the 70s actor. He did Goodfellas, Awakenings, Backdraft, Cape Fear, Mad Dog and Glory, A Bronx Tale, Casino, Heat, Sleepers, Copland, and Jackie Brown. And obviously this movie as well. Like they were on fucking heaters, both of them in the 90s.
When did he give us Heat? I want to say, was it 98?
95.
It was 95. So it was before this, was it?
I want to say it was 95. Yeah. If I was going to put down money on it, I'd say 95.
Oh, 95. Well done. Yeah. Oh, so fuck me. Casino and Heat in the. Oh, hang on. Yeah, Casino and Heat in the same year.
Yeah, which is massive. And then coming straight off that and doing this.
The Fan, Sleepers, and then Copland.
And it's weird because, you know, we're talking about like because it's cool. It's a movie that for its faults, I think we both like to one extent or another. Make no mistake, this movie was a flop. Like this was a flop. They spent a lot of money on it. It did like 40 million at the box office. And it was a critical and commercial flop. The reviews for this are bad. They're just bad. It has totally become a cult classic and it's been somewhat reappraised, rightly so, I believe. But when this came out, critics didn't like it. Obviously, fans didn't come out for it, no pun intended there. And like, I kind of get it because of the reason you mentioned earlier, the fact that this is like, it's not a fun watch. You know, you think, oh, you know, a Wesley Snipes film, you think he was this action star. And then you're selling it on the idea that you're going to watch this like for, let's be clear, an hour and a half maybe. This is an uncomfortable psychological thriller where you'll spend the majority of your time with a definitively unlikable character. Like there are no redeeming, the closest thing Gil gets to a redeeming act is just before he goes completely off the deep end. And it's the fantastic beach sequence. Yeah. So when he saves his kids, he's there to do something creepy. But when his kid starts drowning, I don't think he's got any kind of ulterior motive there. I think he just goes in to save his kids. Yeah,
he's not thinking I can get close or anything. He's seen the kid drowning.
He's just doing the right thing. And
but then as soon as he's on safe ground, he's like, oh, I can use it
to his advantage.
I just want to. So yeah, the production budget of 55 million and box office worldwide 42 million.
That's not nearly enough. You've got to, like, in terms of, like, you know, split with the cinema, you know, marketing costs, this film to even break even would need to make, what, like 80, 90 million?
You know the beach sequence as well?
Yeah.
Do you think, like, I know Bobby wanted to get out there, like, get away from it after Gil went on his tirade. Mm-hmm. But do you think he accepted it a little too easy that Curly, in commas, was just wearing his uniform?
That's the genius of this scene, because I think under normal circumstances you'd be like, I've got to get away from this fucker so quickly. But what complicates it is the fact that he saved his son's life. Yeah. He knows he can't, even though he's acting crazy, he knows he can't just tell him to fuck off, because he's like, this guy's fucking out of his mind. But he's like, he did legitimately just save my son's life. So, like you said, I think under normal circumstances, you'd be like, dude, just as soon as you see the jersey, when he takes the jersey off, and that is the moment when he's like, all right, he's lost the fuck. He has stopped caring now, because as far as he's concerned, Bobby doesn't care about him. He doesn't care about the fans. Everything that he stands for, Bobby is going against. And Bobby is in Bobby the character, not Bobby De Niro. And at that moment, under normal circumstances, you just be like, all right, that's it. That's fucking insane. I got to bounce. But like I said, because he saved his son, it means he's got to stick around a little, like certainly a little longer than he'd want to.
Yeah.
And even at the end, he doesn't just say, what the fuck, dude? He's like, oh, thanks again. You saved my son's life. I'm going to go to bed. Bye. Just keep the jersey and stuff.
Yeah.
But
what about your glove? Bobby, what about your glove?
Hey, Bobby. Attaboy, Bobby. I mean, oh, God, even the shit he says where he keeps calling him, there's nothing lamer than a fucking grown man calling another grown man slugger. If some dude without any sense of irony called me slugger, I'd be like, well, I'm gonna have to punch you in the fucking face right now.
There's that. I'm just going up to him and going, oh, well done, champ.
Champ is bad. I think slugger's even worse. But he's such a shouse.
What I want to bring up next is, I guess, the way this movie deals with obsession, fame, and collapse. You know, it digs into the darker side of fandom, the absolute darker side of fandom. And it's that idea that some people don't just admire athletes, they attach their whole identity to them. I mean, you've got Gil's life. You've got Gil's life falling apart. Rayburn becomes the only thing he thinks he can control. And it's uncomfortable because it's real. You've got fame attracting people who want to live through you. The fan shows what happens when that attachment turns toxic. And I think, as much as this didn't make the money, and maybe it was because people found it very uncomfortable, or just wasn't good, I'm not too sure, because I thought it was a decent film.
No, I think it's very good.
I think Tony Scott does so well in giving us that toxic fandom.
And I think one of the reasons I mentioned the fact that this has turned into a cult movie and that it's been certainly in some circles reappraised is because, like, nowadays with internet culture in particular, this feels more prescient than ever. And you think about, like, when we were younger, it was like you would support a football team, for instance, or a baseball team. But nowadays, what's happening more and more, you find out, is that younger people are following players. And, you see it, I know you're not a football guy, but you see it with, say, like, and even in basketball, you see it even though they're from different generations, you see it with LeBron versus Jordan in the quote-unquote GOAT conversation. People have picked a side and it becomes tribal. And it's the same with Ronaldo, Messi. It's just like, I'm a Ronaldo guy, I'm a Messi guy, and I will fight the corner. And it becomes this weird, like you say, obsessiveness, which we see in modern day media. Only this is much more personal. It does mean, however, that sometimes you have to have these moments where, like, when Gil phones the Giants changing room and just gets through and he's talking to Bobby, I'm just like,
that number.
I don't know about that, dude.
Like, he's just randomly got the number and they give him the number, that's fine. Oh, he's got it. But then he rings up and it's just like, they're not even questioning, oh, I want to speak to Bobby. Who is it? Oh, it's just a friend. I need to tell him something. I don't think anyone's going, oh, Bobby, there's somebody on the phone for you.
Well, there's the only two reasons are, one is John Leguizamo, let's be clear, he's not a great agent. He fucked the numbers at the start. Then with the whole sick kid, didn't realize his son's name. Then he tells him to go back and play injured. He's like a bad agent. And on top of that, when he shows up in the Giants changing room, so this is Bobby now, on his first day there, and the coach is like, oh, wait, you didn't realize you couldn't have the number because Primo has it? There is no way in a million fucking years for your 40 million star player that hasn't been organized beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
That conversation has happened. That has been agreed. He doesn't show up on day one and they're like, oh, no, I thought you already knew. Primo's got the number. And that's a weird thing. We've not even mentioned...
I was about to say the same thing. We need to mention Benicio del Toro as Primo. Primo.
It's quite odd because for an hour, literally an hour of this movie, Primo is not a thing until he's a thing. And it's like they force him in. You have to deal initially with the terrible hair, and it is one of the worst haircuts in movie history. It's unbelievable.
So haircut as well, but I'm going to go straight into a Rob take now then. I wrote down, where are my Rob takes? Bear with me a second. Primo's sideburns, facial hair, and teeth. I guess his whole face. I couldn't get on with this whole look. Like, mate, you're making how much money? You got Rayburn being jealous of you.
I know
hitting
it's
fucking
the 90s,
dingers.
but
No.
Because there's a few things going on. Like, we mentioned the fact that, this is a night. We talked about some other films, for instance, where you're like, if nobody told you and you didn't know the actors, you can almost believe that this was a movie shot yesterday but just happen to be set in the 90s. You know, we talked about like Con Air or like Terminator 2, for instance. You're just like, that just looks like almost like a modern movie. Because of the way Tony Scott shoots the movies, you're just like, this was filmed in the 90s for sure. But in case you have any doubt as to when it was set, you usually only have to look as far as Wesley Snipes' wardrobe. Like, he has got like the hats and the fucking waistcoat and everything. You're just like, my God, that is aggressively 90s. And just in case that's not enough, we've got Primo. And he is fucking going for it. And the other thing they do brilliantly is like, oh, just in case you didn't get it, Primo is ethnic. Like when they finally have the moment to show you that Primo is good at baseball and they start playing like Mexican music and everything, it's like, all right, guys, I think you're overdoing it.
I mean, you were 30 seconds off playing La Cucaracha, wasn't they?
yeah. It's like, oh, we're going to give him maracas, have him like eating a fucking burrito. But he's really good. And obviously he is something of a kind of like a narrative excuse for the movie. Like he doesn't get as much screen time as he should. He's a cipher, I guess you would call it, basically.
He went out like a champ, though. I mean,
dude, that knife in the leg is horrible.
That knife in the leg is horrible. It's just, like it's femoral artery, and like they're looking into each other's eyes as his heart pumps out the last bit of blood. But it made me think as well, because we just said about Gil being able to ring up the dugout. Gil can get into a lot of places. Like, how is he able to get into the hotel and just like get? And again, they were just in a sauna. You're telling me nobody else is coming in at that point?
It was different in the 90s, admittedly. It's like, you know, another thing that sets us apart from modern day and the fact that there's no social media is the fact that it's clear that not only do all the baseball players go to a strip club, they all go there very regularly. Like, it's just super regular. Like, that would never happen nowadays, kind of thing. And I guess you could play the role of, oh, he's a salesman, so he just bullshits his way in because he's used to seeing people off the cuff. He's used to dealing with front desks. But you get it right through to the end of the film. Like when they go to the baseball stadium at the end for that final game, and Rob De Niro, Gil is just walking around the stadium. Like he's got like there were all those cops there looking for him. He's just like cutting about the stadium, like no big deal. Just like, all right, we have to take a few leaps to get Gil into the right places or to have him communicating with characters at the right time. And it's something you just have to accept. But yeah, that scene in the steam room is another great scene in terms of like taking you to the edge with Gil in terms of when he goes back in, they sell you on the idea that he doesn't necessarily mean for it to go south and for him to stab Primo. Yeah. Like he doesn't go in with like, I'm going to kill him. But you also get the impression that he wants it to escalate. He wants an excuse to stab him. So he doesn't go in like, I'm just going to stab him. That's the end of it. He's like almost tricking himself. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to, have an altercation with this guy. And then when things get out of hand and he just conveniently has a knife again and he stabs him and kills him, it's almost like, oh, well, I didn't have a choice. I didn't mean to. But there was something in the back of his head which is saying, like, he wanted to kill Primo.
It's funny in Gil's mind as well, isn't it? Because, he wanted to kill Primo. He killed Primo for Bobby. Mm-hmm. In his mind, Bobby should know that he did it for him. So
he's always like, just say thanks would be nice.
Where's the thanks? Where's the thanks for everything I've done for you? How the fuck am I meant to know, you psycho, that you have killed this guy and you cut his number off his arm? And again,
dude. I mean, there's two things that are crazy about that. One is the fact that he cut it off. Two, the fact that he had the number
that's what
branded.
I mean. Primo was obsessed with the number 11. Did he brand that into his arm before this whole mess with Bobby, or did he just prove himself?
So, yeah. No, I assume he had it branded, but yeah, like you say, it's like he's like, oh, you've got to admit, it's like, oh, you got your number back. He didn't even get his number back because I was just like, when I was watching this film, because I watched it a lot when I was younger, I haven't seen it for a long time. When Primo dies, I'm like, there's no way he takes his number.
No, they retired his number, didn't they?
They retired, of course they did. Yeah. And so he didn't even get the number. But even that kind of plays into the whole how fickle like sports fans are. It's like, they're giving him the business. And that's where he gets that, obviously, that change of heart. And he's like, I'm just playing for myself. It's like on the one part, and that sounds pretty fucked up. On the other hand, you've seen it with the fans. It's like they all turn him, they're calling him a piece of shit. They're blaming him for Primo's death. And it's true of any sport. If you start crushing, if you start scoring goals, you start hitting dingers, the fans forget immediately. They don't give a fuck anymore. They're just like, oh, he's the man. He's the man. Like, wait, didn't we think maybe he killed Primo? It's like, yeah, but if you've seen his batting average for the last month, fuck that. He's the man. And that's the end of it.
Randy Quaid in Major League.
Yeah.
Worst fan ever. Everybody stinks. Everybody stinks. Oh, wait, no, we're back now. We're good. I'm going to... I'm back to be the best fan again. Oh, fucking... And
What a great
That's
film.
the thing, like obsessive fandom and the way fans are and everything as well. That's why I'm not really into the major sport. Like I'm not into football. I'm a big rugby fan, but I think rugby fans are the best kind of fans in my opinion. And I'm into
It's getting a
wrestling.
little worse, but yeah, they are fundamentally a better bunch than say, like, I prefer to, like, if I was going to take my wife, I prefer to take her to like a fucking rugby game than a football
Yes,
game. That's for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I've taken my wife to rugby games.
Baseball would be safe. Like honestly, American sports, you can go into like pretty much any ballpark. You can wear whatever jersey, and you might get one fucking heckler if you go up in the bleachers or something. But generally speaking, you can sit where you want. Same with American football. It's not. It is almost exclusive, like to football, as in soccer, where you're just like, dude, you can't wear that fucking Man United shirt with the Liverpool fans. You will get murdered. You will get murdered. But yeah, just so yeah. This to cut to the chase. Football fans are pretty bad.
Yeah, agreed.
But I know what you mean. There is, regardless of your sport, though, there is that obsessive nature. And I think this film captures that really well. But it does come back to fundamentally one of the issues with this film is the fact that it's trying to do too much. The fact that it is a two-hander. The fact that it's trying to be a character study and an action thriller. The fact that it's trying to be about all these things. And like I said, that does lead to a film which is probably 15 minutes. It does slightly outstay its welcome. I do think the fact that you have that slow burn means that when it does completely go off the deep end, it does feel somewhat justified. It doesn't completely come out of the blue. But saying that, and I'll be interested to see your response to this, because obviously I'd seen this film a bunch of times. I know the way it goes. I watched this with my wife who'd never seen it. When the movie went the way it did, i.e. he killed Primo, he cut the brand off his arm, she was like, wait, he took, she did in this order. She's like, wait, he took the car, the dog, and the kid. I was like, that was a strange order to put it in, but yes, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
When it went off the deep end, she was like, I didn't see that coming at all. Because she was thinking of it as being this slow burn character kind of, movie. And then when it turned into ostensibly an action movie for the last 30 minutes, it came out of the blue as far as she was concerned. Well, she found it quite odd.
It was a bit odd, but you knew they were going to up the tension. And the best way to up the tension is, I guess, to kidnap his kid. That's
and his car and his dog, of course.
And his car and his dog. And it's funny as well because Bobby could sense that he could snap at any moment. So it's not like saying, "Why have you taken my kid?" He's like, "Gail, why'd you take the car? Are you okay? Put me on speaker, we'll talk." And then they have this comment, and he's like, look in your freezer. Like he's had time to go to his freezer as well and put the bloody number 11.
That's a weird thing, because there were a few things in this film where you're just like, was this planned or just opportunistic? Because if we're going on that basis, he's got into his house because he saved his kid. So that's just purely coincidental. He's just basically, quote unquote, lucked out there. So that would go on the basis, we'd have to go on the understanding that he was just keeping Primo's skin in his pocket. Yeah. Just keeping it on him just in case. And you get the same at the end. So he doesn't know there's going to be a rain delay. He can suspect the weather might turn, but he can't guarantee that there's going to be a major rain delay. But then all of a sudden he just happens upon the fucking umpire, somehow gets him on his own, does the old fucking Austin Powers, punches him out in the closet room, steals all his gear, and then goes out like JCVD in the fucking end of the Stanley Cup as like the full goalie and just starts umpiring the game. It's like all that stuff must have just been completely off the cuff. It just there's no other explanation.
The other thing with that as well is calling out. Like when he was clearly safe, like you wanted this home run. You wanted this home run for you. So why
he's
then?
Fucking with him at that point.
Why? Yeah, I know he's fucking with him, but he really wanted the home run. He wanted Bobby to thank him. So no matter what else is going on, he's still obsessed with this. I thought he would have called it, then took his mask off and going, "Now thank me." But
maybe it's not as dramatic. I mean, to say that again, he amps up the drama at the end. I mean, I think it's genius, the fact that he asked Bobby, he's like, he says, you've got to hit me a home run or I'm going to kill your kid. Talk about because you think about sports movies, the big drama, are you going to hit the home winning, the match winning home run? Also, it's like add the pressure. It's like, if you don't hit a home run, I'm going to kill your kid. On top of that, you've got suddenly the pitcher won't pitch to him. He's going to walk
and
him.
You can't tell the opposite
you get the
team.
danger of the fucking rain delay that the game's going to get called. It just keeps piling up. It's genius.
All because he can't tell the opposite team what's going on. Nobody can know.
Yeah.
Because I'll know because I was a pitcher. I'll know if the pitcher.
1 sec, sorry.
Yeah, I'll know if the pitcher basically doesn't throw you a decent ball. Right, sorry about that. I just literally had to pause for something, and we can't remember what the point was I made.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying at all. It was something to do with hitting the ball, and actually, that's worth mentioning because as great as this movie looks, and like I said, it is aggressively 90s time. Like, there's a scene when he goes to a driving range, and it looks like a scene from Die Hard 2 with the lighting. You're just like, no driving ranges ever look like that, but it looks cool. I give him that. Everything looks great, except for when he hits the ball. So they cut away to the shots where the ball is traveling through the sky, and it just looks like ass. It looks just terrible. And they do it like 3 times in this film. And I guess it's because they want the ball to be traveling and to see the crowd behind it. So it's like a composite or something. But it's the only sequence in the film that looks bad. And it happens like 3 times for home runs. And I think it's such a shame because otherwise this film looks great. But yeah, for some reason they just couldn't do home runs. It's just one of those things, which feels pretty important. Although, I would say, right, you mentioned Major League. This film, you think it's going to end with a home run. Instead, it ends with a infield home run. So, because the weather's so bad, we mentioned earlier, like it is pouring down. They would have called this so much earlier. But, you've got people slipping over. So he just, he goes round third. He makes the run for fourth. Fair enough. It does happen sometimes, infield home runs. Does that happen at the end of Major League? We covered this on the podcast. I know it ended in a strange way. Was it like a sacrifice fly it ended on or something like that?
No. Jake did a bunt. He did a bunt and ran for third.
Sacrifice. It was a sacrifice bunt, and he makes the run for
bunt. He ran for first, so Wesley Snipes could score the winning
do you know the reason?
Try, I was going to say.
I think the reason this happens in some of these movies, just like, dude, why aren't you just fucking ending on a home run? It's because The Natural ate everyone's lunch. When you end a movie on like The Natural, you're not topping it. Like for those who haven't seen The Natural, you get the score is unbelievable. You get Robert Redford crushing a home run. It hits the lights. The lights all explode.
Yeah, the floodlights all explode. He's basically at this point, he's running through sparks and shards of glass. Yeah.
It might be the greatest moment in sports movie history. I legitimately think it might be the greatest moment in sports movie history. And I was just like, I think it's ruined home runs in movies because you're just never going to top The Natural, ever. So you get this instead, but like you said, you get like the great moment right after where it's like, it's such a unique baseball thing of clearing the bases. It's like obviously in hockey, you get people who have fights, which is cool, unique to hockey. But in no other sports do you get clearing the bases like you do in baseball, where everyone just runs on and it justifies the melee and the madness. Although I'm pretty sure rain, clearing the bases or not, as soon as somebody gets fucking stabbed, you're like, I feel like people would notice. But it's that kind of movie, isn't it?
The only other thing I wanted to mention was we already mentioned Coop, but did you recognize Coop?
Charles Hallahan, or as Wikipedia says, beefy Philly-born Charles Hallahan was often cast as a cop. I was like, you have done him dirty. Why did he have to be referred to as beefy. Philly-born Charles Hallahan?
But also, he was Norris from The Thing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Who turned into Spiderhead. Although,
tough break.
One for me and you, he also acted previously, or later, a year later, with John Leguizamo in The Pest.
A film I prefer to forget, a film which will not be covered on this podcast. A film I watched a lot when I was younger, and I put it on for 10 minutes as an adult, and I was like, oh, no, this is fucking terrible. After
watching the whole shower scene,
the shower scene is so... All right, in fairness, what I will say, whether you've seen The Pest or not, if you listen to this podcast, I would suggest watching the intro, and you'll be able to find it online. The Pest shower scene could get you in trouble, but you know what I mean. It is unbearable. It is oddly watchable because it's so terrible, but it's memorably horrendous. Let's just put it that way.
We didn't talk much about John Leguizamo in this film. Oh, really?
I mentioned the fact that he's a terrible agent.
Yeah, but also Ellen Barkin as Jewel. Like, she's up against Bobby, but she's just being a proper radio host. She just wants the truth of everything. Is this guy really worth 40 million? But when shit hits the fan, she's there trying her best to help as well. Like, she's trying to keep Bill on the line, and he's ringing from inside the stadium. She's the only one saying he's here. He's not here. I guarantee you, he's here.
I think it's interesting because, again, it shows that separation because everyone's like, really into sport and it's an important part of life. But as soon as it becomes like a human element, it's like that fades away and everyone just becomes a better person because they want to do the right thing. Whereas Gil is the only one who can't make that separation ultimately between the importance of sport and human life. So I suspect that's quite important. And that's the thing, this movie makes a whole bunch of really smart narrative choices, but it also makes a bunch of really odd visual choices, especially for that finale. So you notice when the guy is pitching to Bobby that his image is presented behind him on a giant screen. That would never happen. I can't imagine how distracting that would be for a batter. They would just never show what's happening from that perspective on the big screen. And of course they do it to give you the excuse to have Robert De Niro's character, Gil, up on the big screen when he's pitching the knife to Bobby at the end of the film. One of the things, and I think we mentioned this other podcast, you notice when he's about to pitch to Bobby and the cops are going to take him out, is that the cops are stood in a circle and they're all pointing guns at Gil. I'm just like, guys, there is going to be some friendly fight. There is no way you have that many shots.
Yeah.
And a couple of cops don't get clipped by their mates. This is just like, guys, we're in a circle. This is really fucking dangerous. It's like a comedy show.
They had a discussion beforehand. Right, if we find him, we're going to all go in a circle. Okay? Steve, you're the only one that's going to fire. Okay,
just
Steve?
Just he's the best shot. Steve's the best shot. He won't miss. You'll be fine. Who's going to jump? Wait, but I'm standing like right across from him. Steve never misses. He'll be fine. Like all the shots will be fine. But if he does, it's going to hit me. Well, you drew the short straw, so you're just going to have to stand there. It looks cool. Somebody has to be there.
But then you've got itchy-fingered Dwayne, who's like, no, I'll do it. I'll fire. And then fucking everyone just dead.
How many shots did he take? And, fair play, he was dead pretty quick at the end.
Yeah.
But and I don't think anyone was sad to see Gil go, because I'm just trying to think, like, did he have a moment of the closest thing he had to a moment of levity throughout the whole film was the little pecker, was the knife. Which I don't know what the fucking little pecker is. No. Mind you, I think that whole thing is crazy. The fact that he's like a door-to-door fucking knife salesman.
But when he turned around and he said, "Do you have a little pecker?" and the guy who's clearly trying to watch upskirt a woman or down grabs a woman, you go, "Of course I got a little pecker."
It's just going in his pocket. Like, who just carries? And the thing is, it's not even like a flip knife. I know it's small, but it's like unsheathed. It's just like it
I
feels
just
like
carry this in my pocket. It's like
What's
when the cops say, when police say, "Have you got anything that's going to stick me?" I might have a little pecker.
Oh, got the little pecker. Yeah, I do have no needles, but I do have the little pecker. I have to be honest with you, and it's not covered, and it might be facing up. If to be honest, I've caught myself a million times, but the little pecker is in my pocket. Yeah. Is that a euphemism, sir? No. It's a very small knife.
Especially when I say my little pecker is unsheathed.
Yeah. One last thing I want to mention before we move on to favorite scene, or if you have any additional Rob takes.
I do have an additional Rob take, yeah.
What did you think about the score? Which I was surprised he was by Hans Zimmer, and even more surprised to hear that it's one of his favorite scores, supposedly.
I didn't mind the score. I mean,
I like it, man. I love the end credit song, which is basically, they use the end credit song, they just run it throughout the entire film. Unless it's every so often, they cut to 9 Inch Nails to say, oh, look, Gil's going crazy. I get it. The rest of the film is just different kind of, like parts of that same song that they use at the end credits.
It's the the tense thriller cues that the score gives you. You know you're in a tense moment. I thought the score was done really well, and I was really shocked to see that it said by Hans Zimmer. I'm thinking,
yeah, me too.
Tony Scott, of course, it's Hans Zimmer. Tony Scott's a decent director. You're going to get,
and he's worked with him a lot.
Yeah, you're going to get a decent.
Composer.
Say score maker. Thank you, conductor.
Score maker. One score maker, please. I want your finest score maker. Post haste.
But this doesn't seem like the type of film that you get Hans Zimmer.
And it doesn't sound like a classic Hans Zimmer score at all. And maybe that's why he likes it, because it does sound different.
I mean, but then again, the best Hans Zimmer score for me, again going back, is True Romance.
It's again, I would argue, a non-traditional Hans Zimmer score. Maybe I'm being unfair there, because Hans Zimmer really got a Hans Zimmer sound in and around, it was the Batman movies.
Yeah.
When it was like that heavy bass, which became really popular, and you'd hear it everywhere. It was they used it in video games also, like, and then it'd just be the music. That became like the Hans Zimmer sound for a while. But before that, he was more eclectic. And like, as you say, if you look at True Romance and this, I think they're both fantastic. I do agree with you. True Romance does win out. I love the True Romance score.
It is my absolute favorite score. When talking about scores and taking nothing away from John Williams and like Indiana Jones and stuff, Hans Zimmer True Romance score, my favorite score of all time.
No, really, it wouldn't be my favorite of all time, but it's up there. It is, and it's so memorable and distinct as well. But anyway, moving on. So you have another Rob take, you said.
I do, yeah. It's I said the timing of finding Bobby's kid, but more like the editing of it, because the cops, whilst Gil is on the mound against Bobby, the cops are breaking into the stadium, into the sky to find the kid. You know, they're running through it, they're finding it. Gil chucks the knife, throws a knife. Doesn't get the knife because Steve shoots him with Dwayne's help.
Of course.
Yeah. But then Bobby's the one who finds his kid in the stadium in the sky. So how did Bobby get from there to find his kid when the coppers are already there finding him? So the editing seems weird.
It is. And there's another sequence, including Bobby Jr., which I don't think makes much sense, but we'll get to that in a moment in Oscar season. In terms of favorite scenes, I could just as easily go for the opening phone call, which I think is great. I mentioned earlier the cross-cutting while talking, and I do think it's legitimately elite stuff. But I think the correct answer is the beach scene, and in particular the uniform reveal. It's the moment when it's just like, oh, this is going up a notch now, and it just looks so cool. It looks like a Tony Scott film with the lighting and everything else. And I think we haven't mentioned him as much in this film, and I think you thought he wasn't quite at the same standard as Robert De Niro. I actually think Wesley Snipes is fantastic in this, and I think he's really convincing as a baseball player. And obviously, he'd already played a baseball player in a major league. I think we always got the impression that he looked the part, but maybe wasn't, like, famously on White Men Can't Jump. They kind of had to shoot around him. Like Woody Harrelson was the baller, and he wasn't so good, so they had to kind of shoot around him. In this, I'm not sure if he's a great baseball player. He looks the fucking part. He totally does. Yeah. I think he's genuinely really good in this movie. He feels like a movie star. And that moment when you have them both on screen together and you have that kind of psychological showdown, as I said, the complexities of the fact that he's saved his son, so he doesn't quite know where the line is. You know, it's not in the same place it usually would be in terms of basically telling someone to fuck off. But as soon as you reveals the uniform, you're just like, oh yeah, Gil doesn't give a fuck anymore. So that's my favorite scene in the film.
Right, so I'm either going to have to start going first, or I'm going to have to stop you saying, well, it could have been this one, but it's that one. Because I knew you were going to go for the beach, but your could have been was mine. Like, it is the radio.
Those are the two best sequences, though. They are.
I mean, the moment that Gil phones into the sports radio show is the film at its most uncomfortable. He started off sounding like a passionate fan, but the longer they let him talk, the more you realize he's spiraling. Yeah. His voice is cracking. His logic is collapsing. The hosts slowly realize they're not talking to a caller. They're talking to a man losing his grip on reality in real time. Mm-hmm. It was the perfect snapshot of the film's tone, that tense, sad, and deeply unsettling tone. Like, and that's the opening scene as well. So you're starting to get that, and you think, "Oh, fucking hell! The only way, there's no up for this guy." All down.
It starts bad and just gets worse and worse as the film goes on. But yeah, agree with you. Those are the two best scenes of the film. Oscar season, in which we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies in categories of our choosing. For me, the Oscar for most uncomfortably unhinged performance goes to Robert De Niro, and it might not even be in his top 3 uncomfortably unhinged performances, which speaks to both his quality and his choice of films.
Can I read my first one? The Oscar for the best unhinged performance, Robert De Niro.
It just has to be. Yeah. The Oscar for fuck reality lighting goes to Tony Scott and 90 Cinema, where they're just like, we don't care if this looks like reality. We're gonna put the filter on. We're gonna put lighting everywhere, and this goes right down to when we did the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves podcast. Yeah, I know it's a different movie, but when you get that reveal of Robin Hood coming, in Sherwood Forest, and he's lit from below. In like the 1200s, you're just like, where's that fucking light coming from? It doesn't matter. It's the 90s. It looked cool. And the Oscar for most 90s headwear, this side of Samuel L. Jackson, goes to Wesley Snipes and his collection of terrible hats. It's still the first one when he comes into the locker room for the first time and he's wearing the fucking waistcoat and everything. But the headwear in this film, dodgy as fuck.
So I've already said my first one. So the Oscar for the best Tony Scott rainstorm is every scene of this film.
Yeah. When it rains in this film. Yeah.
And finally, the Oscar for the best baseball meltdown is Bobby Rayburn's slump. Like, when that guy has a meltdown, he has a meltdown.
He has a meltdown. The Razzie for worst hair goes to Benicio del Toro as Primo. We mentioned earlier. just
I'd say worst face, like worst head makeup, like everything about it.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the quality of his hair, or the lack quality of his hair, that he has so much going on with his face, but all like, do you know what the thing that drives me crazy about his hair is, the reason maybe it works so well is that you get movies where like someone will have like some horrendous mullet. This is just the wrong side of a normal haircut. It's like, right, to put an example on it, it was like one of my friends went on a stag do, and instead of dressing the stag in something ridiculous, they just dressed him like a bit of a bellend. So it didn't look like he'd been dressed up as the stag. It just looked how he dressed. And I'm like, that's genius. It's so much more effective because no one's going to look at him and think, oh, he's the stag. They're just like, that guy dresses like a twat. And that hair, I think, stands out because you're like, at a glance, you're like, is that a normal haircut? It isn't, but it's close to being one, and that makes it all the more disturbing. The Razzie for worst escape attempt goes to Bobby Jr. So you mentioned earlier when you were doing your Rob's take, he gets away with what's his name? Coop.
Yeah.
So he jumps over the fence, and you got to remember, I know they're out the way a bit, but they're in San Francisco. By time Gil catches up with Bobby Jr., the sun has come up. It was dark when he left. I'm like, you didn't run into a single human being? Like, it was the worst escape attempt in movie history. I was like, you didn't run into anyone. Where did you go, you idiot? Anyway, besides the point. And the Razzie for obvious busybody goes to the old lady at the baseball, and the fact that she was so much more annoying than she should have been. She was technically doing the right thing. I also fucking hate her.
He was eating it up as well when she was in the mother's house. When she was in the mother's house and Gil's going nuts, and she's just there with her cup of tea and a pinky in the air, like just dining on the situation.
Oh, yeah. Like you said, I think a Karen you referred to it as earlier. So, yeah, absolutely.
Right. So for me, the Razzie for the worst knife sales pitch has to go to Gil Renard. Like, that guy is not winning any.
Well, you definitely don't want to mention canoes to him.
No,
fucking canoe. I love that scene.
The Razzie for the worst fan etiquette goes to Gil Renard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, and the Razzie for the worst weather for baseball goes to the end. The end game.
Yeah, they really do run. I mean, they're usually pretty sensitive with baseball in terms of rain impacting the game, and they'll bring out the tarp and everything. The rain at the end of that game is like, it's one step down from like the chubby rain at the end of Matrix Revolutions.
That tarp was absolutely pointless. By the time you've covered up the field, it was sodden anyway.
It was sodden, yeah. So, but again, they kind of worked into the narrative with the in the field, in the park home run, whatever it's called, where everyone's slipping around. But yeah, it was still pretty mental. Any alternative titles for this film?
Yeah, not as many as you think, or maybe thought. I'm not sure how you. Argentina, the Fanatic. Brazil, Strange Obsession.
Sounds like an erotic thriller. I don't know
why. Finland, The Fan, Fear Strikes.
No, unnecessary.
Hong Kong, Mandarin.
No, that can't be right. Mandarin is just the language that they speak in Hong Kong. No, it's not even that. No, they don't even speak Mandarin in Hong Kong. They speak Mandarin in mainland China. They speak Cantonese in Hong Kong. So yeah, that's insane.
It just says Mandarin. So I'm giving it. I'm saying it. Italy, The Fan, The Myth.
No, superfluous.
Portugal, Fanatic, Adept.
Absolutely not.
Taiwan, End of Fire Order.
That sounds like a Steven Seagal film.
Yeah.
So we'll stick with The Fan, I think. We'll stick with The Fan this week. Yeah. Any facts of this film?
A few. So Cal Ripken Jr. was Wesley Snipes' personal batting instructor during filming.
That's pretty. I mean, he is a good batter, so it makes sense.
Jack Nicholson turned down the role of Gil Renard.
Yeah, supposedly loads of people wanted this role, which makes sense, I guess.
Robert De Niro took the Yankees bobblehead doll as a souvenir. The production company paid collector Ann Wells, who loaned it to the movie, $400 for the doll. I
mean, maybe it's like rare, baseball collectibles in particular are often worth a lot. There's a big market for them, so I don't
know. Tony Scott turned down the offer to direct twice, as he disliked the script and had no interest in baseball. He changed his mind after De Niro signed on, as he'd always wanted to work with De Niro.
Yeah, that'll do it. It's kind of like last week when we covered sneakers. It's like, why are all these stars in sneakers? It's Robert Redford. The answer is Robert Redford.
Brad Pitt turned down the role of Bobby Rayburn, wishing rather to play the role of Gil Renard.
I get it. but I think it's more important that he's a bit older.
Yeah. In the novel on which the movie was based, Bobby Rayburn played for the Red Sox, and the story was set primarily in and around Boston.
Would that work better? Maybe. Although I mentioned at the top, I do like San Francisco as a movie city, so I have no issue with that.
Frank Darabont contributed to an uncredited draft of the script.
Oh, cool.
Al Pacino was considered for the role of Gil Renard.
That would have been a big performance.
Yeah.
You can be shouting Bobby. I'm not going to try and do an Al Pacino impression right now, but I can imagine how that might have gone. This is inching towards him losing his fucking mind as an actor. This is a few years before what was the Keanu Reeves Devil movie where he really goes for it?
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's Advocate. Yeah. God, I love that film. That film's very good. I love that film.
Where was it going for this now? Wesley Snipes and John Leguizamo's second movie together in a year, as they both co-starred in the movie Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. The knife that Gil gives to Bobby Rayburn's son to pose with is a Gerber Easy Out.
And sorry, we didn't mention this in the main, but I totally buy into it. It's like, wait, how do you get his son on board when he's acting such a dick? And how can he convince Bobby Jr. to be on board when, his dad isn't there? It's like, oh yeah, you give a kid a knife and act like it's cool. Like it would work. It would sounds ridiculous. You give like a young boy a knife and you're just like, yeah, dude, just play with a knife. You'd be like, this is the coolest fucking thing. This is the coolest day of my life. So yeah. If you want to get a kid on board, which sounds dodgy as fuck, just give him a knife, which sounds even more dodgy.
Though Gil and Bobby crossed paths and spoke to each other over the phone several times throughout the film, they don't officially meet each other until 1 hour and 14 minutes into the film. And
that's the beach sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, in the scene where Bobby Rayburn's son almost drowns in the ocean when going for a swim, Rayburn attempts to save him by going into the ocean. There is a moving, lingering shot of Rayburn's face while swimming, and it's very obvious that it is not actor Wesley Snipes, but his stunt double's face.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
So maybe they didn't meet on the beach.
No, maybe.
Yeah. That's it.
Oh, fair enough. Hugs to the Future, a remake sequel, Let It Die or Leave Well Alone. Leave Well Alone. It's the performances and it's Scott's direction that ultimately make, let's be clear, what is a relatively uneven movie fundamentally work. So, I don't want to see a remake. I honestly Let It Die because I think it has been revisited. I think it's aged pretty well. So, Leave Well Alone.
Pretty much the same because I wouldn't say it was like saying "Leave Well Alone" makes people think
you feel like you're being precious about it.
Yeah, this being precious about it. But I don't want to say "Let It Die" either, and I don't want to. I don't need a remake or sequel or anything to this film. No. So yeah, it is "Leave Well Alone" for that case.
No, absolutely. It's similar to Sneakers last week. Like we said, it's like I have no massive attachment to Sneakers. This movie that I enjoyed. But the reason it works is largely because you have that very unique and exceptionally talented cast, and you wouldn't get that cast nowadays. So there's no point. It's a well-written, well-directed movie, but the reason it stands out is because it looks like a Tony Scott film, and it's got Robert De Niro and peak Wesley Snipes. So yeah. Leave Well Alone. Make a change. Would it be easy make a change if you could only make one change to make this movie better? What would it be? I mean, for me, it would either be Primo's hair or, I guess like the tonal balance of the film, if you want to take it a bit more seriously. But to be honest, I feel more passionate about Primo's hair, so I'll go with that.
For me, it's like give Bobby more proactive moments, I think. You've got Rayburn spending most of the film reacting to Gil's chaos. If there's more scenes where he pushes back, he investigates or confronts the situation, I think it'd make the final act hit even harder.
I do agree with you because even though this movie is a two-hander, there's no escaping the fact that fundamentally it still feels like a Robert De Niro movie first and a Wesley Snipes movie second. He just doesn't get quite as much to do. I do agree with you there. That's a much better answer than Primo's hair. In terms of video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't, the fan video game. I was trying to think of like kind of interactive sports games with, a story. Pyre by Supergiant Games kind of stands out. But I would actually go for the GBA era Mario Tennis games, only with more, murder and mental breakdowns, basically. So if you could get like the structure of like Mario Tennis, only add in psychological thriller, I think that would fundamentally work.
I went with MLB The Show pretty much any year. You get the sports pressure, the performance slumps, the fan obsession to a point. Maybe just amp the fan obsession up. I don't know, have a side story where your kid is kidnapped and gets murdered if you don't hit home runs.
But what they do in the show, because I do play the show quite often, is they have these great story modes. Like they did one, like they did 2 years back to back, which were about the Negro Leagues, and it's
Yeah.
like almost like a history lesson where it's like each episode will be about a famous player from the Negro Leagues, and it'll pick a moment from their career, and you basically replay that. You do that, only it's just like if you don't hit a home run, Gil is going to murder your kid. So it's like you fail and he just murders Bobby Jr. It's pretty dark, but what are we going to do? It's that kind of game. So I think the show is probably the better answer. And it's a really good baseball game as well. It's probably one of the best sports games out there, full stop, actually. IMDb, this is where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review. But before that, I try and guess how many written reviews there are for this film. This is a tricky one. I don't think there'll be that many. Under 200, over 100?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for 132.
Oh, dude, 142.
Oof. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Pretty good about that. In terms of 10-star reviews, out of 142, I think they may be like, I think a lot of people maybe like it, but have issues. I'm going to go with 17.
We're close to 10%, 14.
Oh, that's pretty close. Yeah. Jesus. Give myself a pat on the back for that.
Right, so this one was written in September of 2024, titled "I Finally Had It with All the Negativity."
Finally, I'm going to set the worlds to rights.
Apparently, people have been so negative. People have been so negative about The Fan. This guy's decided to leave an IMDb review to just settle the score.
Yeah, because that is one thing everyone's doing. 20, 30 years later, it's like people are talking about The Fan. We're the only ones talking about The Fan, dude.
For years, I have admired this shamefully ignored movie by the late Tony Scott. To be honest, I can't find anything wrong with this film. The script is great and so is the acting. It's at times hilarious and at times disturbingly serious. It's also elegantly shot and masterfully edited. And aside from that last scene, mate, it keeps the audience guessing until the end and it carries a meaningful message. I am so sick and tired of people talking bad about this film. I could just go full Gil Renard on them. This is by all means an old movie and hard to even find anywhere to watch. But please give it a chance and enjoy it for what it is. A Tony Scott film.
I mean, he goes a little bit far in it, but fundamentally, I agree with most things he says. I just wouldn't go as far down the road as he has. Kind of
Would
thing.
you go
Especially
full Gil Renard?
the fact that you go full Gil Renard. I mean, Jesus Christ, you don't be that passionate about this film. In terms of 1-star reviews, I don't think there'll be many of those either. I think a lot of people are going to give this somewhere between 4 and 7 or whatever. I'm going to go for 8.
6.
Oh, dude, pretty close again, man.
Yeah. This one was written in December of 98.
Oof, hot off the press.
Titled Define Stupid.
There we go.
Movies like this give all movies a bad name. Everyone involved should be ashamed of themselves. This is the cinematic equivalent of slamming your hand in a car door. If De Niro and Snipes thought they were doing anything other than collecting a paycheck, they were sadly mistaken. Just because they made a mistake by appearing in this doesn't mean you have to watch it.
I mean, that feels incredibly harsh.
Yeah.
Incredibly harsh, but that is what 1-star reviews tend to be, written by lunatics. Which leads us to our own scores and recommendations. I went back and forth on this film. I've ultimately gone for a 3 and a yes. I think moment to moment, this often feels like a 4-star movie, but I think it's ultimately slightly less than the sum of its parts. So I could take a scene, I'm like, oh, this is like a 4-star scene from a 4-star movie. But because of the uneven tone, the fact that I think there are those kind of clashes between, the Bobby narrative is slightly outweighed by the Gil narrative. I've come down on 3, but it's still a yes recommend because I think this is it's a good movie. It's a fun watch is tricky because it is uncomfortable at times, but I think because of the catharsis at the end, it does eventually become a fun movie. So I'm going to say 3 and yes.
This is definitely a 3 as well, but it's a no for me. I was so uncomfortable with the Gil scenes. It's like watching some of the Impractical Joker scenes where you get just your skin itches.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I couldn't find myself to say yes, go and watch this film.
Yeah. And I think that's the reason maybe it didn't do so well at the box office, because people would have come out and been like, it's a bit of a tough watch. And maybe it's because of my nostalgia. But even then, like I said, I was borderline with the whole 3-4 thing, and I was definitely borderline with the yes, no thing. But I'll stick with 3 and yes, but we're in the same ballpark again, no pun intended. Before we go on to next week's choice, I have my quiz for you this week, sir. So it's a game about identifying movies from the worst decisions ever, for those who haven't listened to the podcast before. So you have 3 to go through as usual, and you have 2... I always get this because I've got the word quiz in my head. Hints. There we go. So the first one: the lady tries out a new recipe. A lady tries out a new recipe. It's a tricky one.
A new recipe. Seems like somebody poisoning somebody.
Not far off. Not quite, but you're in the right ballpark. Again.
Okay.
My apologies. Very baseball centric. The second hint?
Yes, please.
She boils a rabbit.
Bunny boiler.
Yes.
Fuck me. Not Basic Instinct.
No.
Hang on.
I might have gone there first as well.
Yeah, no, because it was Michael Douglas. He had a couple of ones around the same time.
He's big into erotic thrillers around that time.
Yeah. Fuck me. Fatal Attraction.
There we go. Got it.
Yeah.
Good job, mate.
We always, to this day, when we talk about women being a bit obsessed, we always go, she's going to go full bunny boiler. You're like,
it speaks to the popularity and the impact of the film when it's like, what was it, 87? It's like nearly 40 years later and we still use that term. A teenager gets really pumped up by a drum solo. That's a tricky one, I think.
Wow.
It's a tricky one. You've kind of got to do a bit of lateral thinking on that one.
Yeah, a teenager gets really pumped up by a drum solo. I gotta think the drum solo was probably in the soundtrack, and it's like a.
It's not a traditional drums. It's not like, don't think like a traditional drum set.
Okay. Give me the next one.
While on a trip to Japan.
Crikey too.
There we go. That's good. I was a little about that one, but good job. And the last one, a man takes a bath.
Oh, I'm sorry, but we had a bit of a connection issue then. I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, I was surprised because I think you'll get this one. A Dutchman takes a mud bath.
A Dutchman takes a mud bath. I hear when you say you're going to get this one, and then to me it's just
so I put the pressure on you.
Yeah.
It depends on how you read it, because...
fuck, Predator.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones, as soon as you know, you're like, oh yeah, of course. And it's always so much easier when I'm sitting here with the fucking answers. But so anyway, that was the quiz, and that has been 1996's The Fan by Tony Scott. Next week is your choice, sir, and what are we going for?
I'm going for 1992 again. No, I'm not. 1985 is the year.
85. It's a pretty good year for movies. Whenever I think of 1985, I immediately think of The Goonies, but you're going to need a bit more on that.
That's okay. It's directed by, at this point, friend of the podcast, Joe Dante.
Of Gremlins he did in 84, plus we've done Gremlins.
Yeah. Fucking hell. Mate, we've done Gremlins, The Howling, and Inner Space. We've done 3 of his 4 known fours.
I tell you a film, dude, I'm just going to say now, I was going to pick it for like a upcoming podcast, but you can't find it you literally have to buy the DVD or the Blu-ray specifically. I want to do Matinee. I totally want to do I was like, am I making up that Matinee was good? Because that's a Joe Dante film, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
With
that's
John
93.
Goodman. It's got amazing reviews. It's like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's really well reviewed. And I'm just like, I've seen it once. I remember liking it. And I was like, I'd happily pay to rewatch it on Amazon. Can't rent it or anything. You literally have to buy the Blu-ray from Arrow.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, it's a double shame because I think it'd be a fun one to cover on the podcast.
This is not Matinee, by the way.
No. Matinee was like 93. God, it might even be a 92 movie. 93, yeah?
93, yeah.
I nailed it.
Okay, so...
sorry. The answer is I don't know. It's slightly annoying because I feel like I should know this. The Joe Dante film, right after Gremlins, feels like he would have had a lot of heat back then. So what? Nope, don't know it.
That's okay. One of the, I'd say 2 main stars, Ethan Hawke.
Ooh.
And the other gentleman is River Phoenix.
Well, not gentlemen, the kids then.
Yeah.
Again, this is 85? That would be a year or 2 before Stand By Me?
Yeah, Stand By Me was probably what?
88? 87?
I thought it was 87, yeah.
87 maybe? You have to check that up now.
Stand By Me was 86, so it was the year before. This is
a
the
year
before.
before.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jesus Christ! What a change from River Phoenix from this to that.
Is this that sci-fi movie, the kid sci-fi one?
You're getting there, yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm not gonna remember the name of it. I feel like I can see a poster with the grills on it, but I'm not. If it's the film, I think it is. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I can kind of half see a poster. But
they make.
You just got to tell me. I'm not going to get.
That's fine. So, 3 kids make a spaceship and go into space. Explorers.
Yeah. I've never seen Explorers. It's another one of those films where I was aware of it, but it never really came onto my radar in any meaningful way. I didn't make any kind of like big decision not to watch it. It just never really was on my radar. I can't remember it in the video shop. I can't remember it being on TV. I've just never seen it. When I say I've never seen it, I have not seen a minute of this film. So don't know what to expect.
I'm only 2 viewings into it, so this will be my third viewing when we watch it. And when I say 2 viewings, I'm talking like 80s and 90s. Yeah. But even little Rob back then will tell you, fantastic 2/3. The last third might be fun to talk about. Yeah,
does a bit of the fan change of pace at the end.
Oh, dude.
Oh, don't say anything. I'll look forward to watching it, and obviously people who've seen it before will know what you're talking about. But I think that's going to be an interesting one because I am aware of it, and obviously it's got 2 very famous faces in. Would that be like 2 of their earliest roles on screen?
I believe it's their first on-screen roles. I think one of the big things for River Phoenix from this, he came from the Commune to do this film, and he didn't understand any of the pop culture references. So they were laughing at him on set.
Oh, yeah, because his parents are like proper weirdos, weren't they? Or hippies.
And he was delivering the lines wrong or delivering the pop culture references wrong. So he was getting a bit of a laugh on set.
Yeah, because it's easy to forget. It's like his brother, it was initially called Leaf, wasn't it? It was River and Leaf.
Yeah.
So it gives you an idea of what his parents were dealing with, I think, and obviously changed his name. I think that'll be a really interesting one because, like I said, I've never seen it before. Don't really know what to expect other than the aforementioned strange third act. But look forward to it. Where can we watch this?
Unfortunately, my second pick in a row, I am making you rent again, but it is on. That's okay. It's on Prime.
It is on Amazon Prime. So we're not running into a matinee issue. I'd have to spend £18 on a Blu-ray or any of that.
You do not have to spend £18 on a Blu-ray from a random site called Arrow or wherever it is because you only get matinee.
Yeah, I'm not going to make anyone pay that much, and I don't want to pay £18 to buy matinee. I don't have that fond memories of it. But if matinee does show up on any streaming service, it will be on the podcast in the future.
I've added matinee now to the watch list. So as soon as it pops up on anywhere to watch, we should be able to grab it.
It feels like a very, hey, you guys podcast kind of movie, but we'll see. Anyway, that has been 1996's The Fan. Please do join us next week for 1985's Explorers. Is it The Explorers or just Explorers?
Explorers. I always thought it was The, but it's just Explorers.
Feels like it should be The Explorers. Yeah. Anyway, who am I to say? Anything else before we wrap this up?
No, mate, I'll end it there. It's a bit late for us at this point, so I need to go and sort out the 7-year-old.
Yeah, see a little dig at the end because I was late to the podcast. In fairness, I was late. So what am I going to do? Okay, I've been Liam. He has been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you guys!